Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. My name is Randall and welcome back to another video with Action 07 Jackson, and today we're going to be reacting to Game Theory, FNAF, I Solved Ruin, Security Breach. So basically, he released a new Five Nights at Freddy's theory about the upcoming Security Breach Ruin DLC, and we're just going to react to this. First time reaction, he released this today. We're going to review his theory, react to it, see if we agree or not. Alright, you ready, Jackson?
Yes.
Let's go. Turn on captions. Alright, we're in a pizza location. Uh-oh, it's ruined. Uh-oh. Endo. Staff bot. Oh, jump scare. Game.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory, where today it's
Oh, they
the
don't have
best of times and it's the
caption
worst of
screen.
times. I mean, on one hand, FNAF fans be eating good this month. There's books, there's a teaser for the movie, there's a trailer for Security Breach's Ruin DLC.
It's crazy.
There's even a brand new FNAF VR sequel that literally was announced as I'm recording this episode. It is all super exciting stuff. I hope you're prepared to engorge yourself in lore like
So
Chica
excited.
consuming a pizza. It is literally the year of FNAF, which is fitting since it's 2023 and that's the year of FNAF 3. Also, probably FNAF 6. Honestly, the only thing they're missing from this year is some sort of haunted attraction. But on the other hand, there is chaos.
They need that
in
universal.
the wider theorist community. Buried in this landslide of new material are a lot, and I mean a lot, of very significant lore drops that feel unusually explicit for this franchise. Hints to the origins of Henry, revelations about secret AI programs controlling the Pizza Plex, confirmation that Gregory was in fact Patient 46.
What?
But here's the thing, no one can actually agree on what it's all trying to say. Everyone recognizes that there's been a lot of very important stuff that's being revealed.
Origins of
lately,
Henry?
but every online
That's
theorist that I've
very
seen is taking
intriguing.
the clues and wound up with a different solution to the puzzle. And normally that's not a big issue. That is the beauty of theorizing, to reach your own conclusions, to make your own predictions, to come
Wait, what did that say?
the issue. That is the beauty of theory.
I saw one said Gregory's still not a robot. Afton's been gone
Yeah.
since FNAF 6. Oh, yeah.
And normally that's
I
not
used
a
to
big
believe
issue.
that.
That is the beauty of theorizing, to reach your own
Kinda still wish I do.
conclusions, to make your own predictions, to come up with your own personal
Roommate.
headcanons as part of the
I believed that. I knew nothing was gonna change it until I watched matpat's third of like his complete timeline, and I was like, "Oh, man in room 1208. Never mind, I'm wrong." I've never had a moment like that where I've just been like, "Oh, I guess you're right, Matthew."
Bro.
Yeah. I still haven't watched this fourth one. We should probably do that eventually.
internet hive minds
I haven't
and
watched
work
the third
together
one.
and solve a common mystery. There are going to be people that you agree with and people that you don't, and you know what? It's great either way. Except this time, we kind of gotta
Volume
sort
slow.
of figure it out. What we're talking about today is some major stuff. Everything that's coming out right now feels like it's trying to guide us into what the plot of Security Breach was meant to be. And now with Ruin coming out in July, and building
what,
off
like
of that
this
initial
location
game,
with
we've got
4?
a ticking clock demanding that we solve things, and quick. Our window is tight. So today, I'm here to catch you up on all the major reveals and the ensuing controversies before throwing my purple hat into the ring on what I suspect it all means.
Fair,
Good
of
news,
course.
bad news on
Best-
today's episode,
best
friends. Good
animatronic.
news, I think we've been on the right track the entire time. Bad news, I don't think the wider FNAF community is gonna agree with me. This one is gonna be a battle, so are you ready,
Oh,
theorists?
no.
It's time to
Oh,
eat
I'm the
pizza,
wider FNAF
theorize,
community.
And I'm all out of pizza.
You
Okay,
know what's a
first,
good
let me catch
theory?
you up on the big
Before he starts, he's like, you guys aren't gonna agree with me.
I don't know if that's a good theory, but okay.
FNAF drama. Let me set the stage. It's April. All of Team Theorist over here has
Built
just
a map
finished
that's
slaving
great.
away on our massive timeline for the series. We've done it. We are on the beach, coconut drinks in our hands, eager to take a break from the franchise until Ruin's release later in the year. But nope. Scott had himself some other plans. He smacked those beverages clean out of our hands and released 3 new books: Submechanophobia, The Bobby Dots Conclusion, and Nexi. Now, normally that would be too much of a concern, right? Books tied to this franchise have been coming out for years. It's just part of the content treadmill at this point, and it's not like they tend to add a whole lot. Only one in like every 6 stories is even remotely lore relevant, and even then the connection back to the games only exists if you squint at it. But oh no, friends, not this time. Across the 3 books, story after story after story seems to have significant lore implications. And not only that, they're also much more direct in the way that the information is presented, with characters and events mapping largely one for one onto characters and events from the games. If you're down
If
to
you
have-
hear this, it's raining outside. Jackson, do you notice the rain? It literally just
It's-
came. Like I heard it just whoosh
Oh,
over the
wow.
house.
It just started raining.
Yeah. So it's raining
That's
now.
gonna be great for
New
That's gonna be great
ambiance.
for audio.
New
New
ambiance.
audio.
Habit of reading these things, and
Creepiness
let's be honest, why
levels.
would you when I could just do the homework for you? What I'm talking about might be a bit confusing, so I'm just going to explain by way of example. In GGY, one of the 4 stories that set the internet on fire, a young boy
GGY?
named Greg, with brown hair and big brown
Greg?
eyes, is a master hacker who's been reprogramming the animatronics at Pizza Plex for evil deeds, including bumping off 3
Greg.
school counselors that seem to be getting too close to the truth. He also has himself a habit
Wait a
of being
minute.
really good at the Pizza Plex's arcade games, leaving behind his
Seems a little
initials
too
GGY at the top
familiar.
of the game's leaderboard.
Grr.
Now, compare that information to what we get in the game.
That
So
guy,
the young boy
he's
named Greg-
Cassidy's younger brother. That's who that guy is.
Oh yeah. Guys, we solved FNAF single-handedly. He solved FNAF.
3 with the brown hair and big brown eyes, who seems to be Patient 46, a master hacker that's reprogramming the animatronics at the Pizza Plex for evil deeds, including bumping off 3 therapist characters that also seem to be getting too close to the truth. He also has himself the habit of leaving the letters GGY at the top of the leaderboards at various arcade cabinets throughout the Pizza Plex. Now that right there, that is not counting animatronic toes and trying to match up striped shirts. That is about as explicit of a one-to-one parallel that you
Alright,
get for this
alright.
franchise. So when the story also reveals that Greg's nickname is Rab, aka Dr. Rabbit, you stand up and
What? Wait.
take notice. And you know what? The internet sees it. They recognize the connections and how important the books have suddenly become. No longer am I out there on my own little island shouting into the void about using the books to inform our speculation about the lore. Finally, the internet agrees with me. To me, this is a huge step in the right direction in terms of figuring out the wider lore of the franchise. You know, there's just one tiny little problem with this. No one can quite agree just how seriously to take this lore. After years of denying the book's canonicity, there's suddenly been a massive swing of the pendulum the complete other way, where now many pockets of the FNAF community vehemently believe that these most recent stories are fully canon with the games. In other words, we're no longer talking about an alternate universe where
Hopefully
events
not.
are similar to the games, but with slight differences. Oh no. Now the debate is all about whether what you read in the books also happened in the Pizza Plex that we play through in the games. So before we dive into that can of worms, let's just talk about the stories themselves. I already filled you in on GGY, which means it's time to talk about the other 3, which tell themselves a connected timeline of events. Starting with the first, the Mimic. This is the one that everyone has been losing their collective
I heard about
mind
this
over.
one.
This story tells the tale of Edwin, a genius inventor and single father, and his hyperactive son, David. Basically, Edwin...
Wait, so if he's trying to tie this to Henry, this confirms about Henry's son, because I've been wondering, we know that in the Silver Eyes he has a son, and his son dies, and Charlotte lives, but in the games, Charlotte dies, so I'm like, does his son live in the games? And I even think matpat said once that he thinks Michael could possibly be like Henry's son secretly, or whatever. Because they never say Michael Afton in anything official or something like that. Like they specifically refrain from saying his last name. The only time we ever get a last name to a Michael is Mike Schmidt. So he was like, maybe he's Mike Schmidt or maybe he's Mike Emily. So who knows?
is overwork. Years ago, he sold his struggling robotics company to Fazbear Entertainment, who now has him hard at work turning their, quote, weird costumes into entertaining robots. With the first one that he's working on being a bright yellow chick. There's just one...
Maybe it's my theory getting confirmed. Maybe right after matpat does my theory, you can check my videos about that. matpat literally does my theory that I've had since 2018. Suddenly it gets confirmed.
One problem here.
Well, not
the
confirmed, but
David
more heavily-
is for in all the best and worst ways possible.
Totally supported too.
Excitable, but it
Big
also means that
evidence.
he's moody and demands a lot of time and attention. Two things that Edwin does not have. So to fix his problem and get himself more work time, Edwin creates a piece of software known as Mimic 1. Using some spare robot parts, he makes a legless endoskeleton that's able to copy everything that David does.
This reminds me of in the books, Henry like supposedly commits suicide because he's killed by an endoskeleton.
Basically, this thing's an AI that's using David as his training data. And while Mimic 1 starts by merely copying David, pretty soon it's able to respond on its own, independently. And David loves this thing, which means that Edwin is finally able to disappear into his work. Everything seems to be going well until tragedy strikes. An unsupervised David runs out into the middle of a busy highway and is killed. Edwin is devastated, and he takes all his rage out on the Mimic, this robot that continues to behave like his son, infusing the metal of the bot with pure agony. We then flash forward in time to Edwin being gone, and the mimic roaming the halls of his abandoned home, a brutal killer still in possession of David's childlike tendencies. So, does any of that sound familiar? Cause it should. It's
Wait, is
Henry
it meant to be
Emily,
Gregory?
a genius inventor who helped create
Is
the robot.
Gregory Henry's son? In a way?
Maybe.
Oh my... Like the mimic is Gregory as Henry's son. Oh my golly. Let's see.
Don't they specifically say
Lots
that
of
his
Fazbear
kid's name is
Entertainment. A man
David?
who-
Well, yeah, but they always change the name in the books, right? Like, we've never gotten of any official names except for that Greg. Right? We never have.
I don't think we have, but still.
So I think Gregory might be Henry's son. That's interesting.
Also
Really
happens to be a single
interesting.
Father whose only
I was
child-
just like a month ago trying to do something with Gregory's son. I didn't know what to do. I think I was gonna make a video about it because it was confirmed as canon that he had a son in like the normal universe in the, I got it right here, always keep it by me, the character encyclopedia. And I was like, what? And so this is interesting. This is very interesting.
dies in a tragic accident when they decide to run outside. A creator whose first project was Chica. Now, that alone would be plenty of connected dots, but the story continues to hammer home the parallels
I
between
Chica
these two
theory I
men.
did years
In past
ago.
videos, I've talked a lot about Henry's signature animatronic design, the hinged jaws that we see on the original animatronics, as well as the Rockstar animatronics. Well, guess what? This is how Edwin decided to build the mimic. Quote, under the eye housing, Edwin had welded in place a hinged jaw. Speaking of Edwin's robots, do you know what Edwin's first business
Carter doesn't
project
know
was?
that.
He made robotic vacuum cleaners, presumably like the ones that we see in FNAF 6. Edwin and
Nice.
Henry even share the same sandy brown hair color. But the other big parallel that the story gives us is when Edwin destroys the mimic. The way this event is described is very similar to when Henry built the final Charlie bot from the fourth Closet novel. Here's how it's described in Tales of the Pizza.
The Charlie bots. Oh, think about how robot kids fit in the storyline as well.
Pouring through his muscles, transfusing through the metal into mimic systems. And here's what happens when Henry builds the Charlie bot after her death. Quote from that book. When Henry began to make the fourth, his despair turned to rage. He seethed as he soldered her skeleton together, pouring his anger into the forge where he shaped her very bones. It was not Charlotte drenched in grief, it was made alive with Henry's fury. In both instances, we have men who have instilled their creations, animatronics that are literal
Henry's rage?
stand-ins for their dead kids, with the pain and rage of loss. If that's not a solid connection, I don't know what is. Even from a timeline perspective, Edwin being Henry makes a lot of sense. In the Mimic, they specifically call out that he's 24 years old. After the death of his son, he disappears. But then, in another tale from the Pizza Plex, this one called The Storyteller, we meet up with Edwin 40 years later, at the point that he decides to return to the Fazbear franchise to sit on their board of directors.
Wait, so if he's 24 during like the 1980s, 40 years later would be the 2010s. But say it's like late.
Yes.
If it's so he'd be like what, 60 years old during, well, 70 or something. Maybe they're trying to say he's 60 during FNAF 6.
Again, the books make a very specific point to call out all these dates. So why? What's the big deal here? Well, if Edwin is truly the parallel for Henry, Henry lost his daughter Charlie in 1983. We're
What was that noise?
not exactly sure when he leaves the company, but we definitely know when he comes back, 2023, as evidenced by the numerical code in FNAF 6. 40 years later. A perfect match to the time frame that the books have laid out. In short, Edwin has to be Henry, which means, in a very cool twist, our early franchise timeline was almost perfectly correct. In that video, I said that William Afton's company specialized in hand-sewn mascot suits, and that Henry, when he was brought in, was the one responsible for turning those suits
That's
into
nice.
animatronics.
I like that.
That prediction right there, that was right on the money. I was also on the right track when I said that one of the two founders had their failing company get bought out. I was just wrong about which one. In that timeline video, I suggested that Afton made Fazbear Entertainment, but eventually ran out of money and had to be bailed out by Henry. But as this story shows, it's actually the other way around. Henry
See, that's what I thought. That was my original timeline. If you go watch my I Solved FNAF video, that's got like all of my stuff. That had my original timeline I made years ago. And I had someone created Chica's Pizza World as the first location, and then some like William and Henry had bought them their like thing. But it makes more sense to me that no, Henry had it and William bought it. I just always thought that Chica's was a thing, and then it was bought and put into the Freddy's band. I have always been right on everything I've ever said in Five Nights at Freddy's, except for Crying Child being the Michael. But I only said that because matpat. Listen.
Was ultimately the one that was bought out. And in one final parallel between the books and the games, the story actually describes the Fazbear exec that gets Edwin to sign away his business as Portly, which connects all the way back to the Silver Eyes, where Afton was described in a similar way. Quote, Afton was as robust and lively as Henry was withdrawn and shadowy. He was a hefty man who had the ruddy geniality of a financially shrewd Santa Claus. Okay, cool, so we've got some confirmation on some early
we got confirmation William's fat, alright.
But what does any of this mean for security breach? Well, that's where the second Edwin story comes in, the Storyteller. In this one, we rejoin Edwin 40 years later. Because of his importance to the early days of Fazbear Entertainment, he now sits on the board of directors. A fact that does not land too well with the current head of the board, Mr. Burrows. Get it? Thanks, Burrows, because everyone's always connected to rabbits. Anyway, to cut costs at the Pizza Plex, Mr. Burrows decides to lay off the entire creative department, instead replacing them with a generative AI that's capable of creating new storylines for all the characters. Basically, this thing is like ChatGPT on steroids. This
sounds like MrRandalTea.
Upsets Edwin, who apparently has gone from engineering nerd to creative heart of the company. But he's not just a WGA member that's upset about some Writers Guild's rights. What makes matters worse is the fact that Mr. Burrows isn't using just any AI, he's installing Mimic 1, the same program that Edwin created, the one that was trained by his son 40 years prior. When they install it, it even comes in the form of his son's favorite toy, a white tiger head. And here's where things start to get real crazy. This AI controls everything in the Pizza Plex. It runs through a large central tree of wires that are connected through the walls, even tapping into things like the animatronics themselves. In fact, once the Mimic 1 program gets installed, the behavior of all the animatronics starts to change from their normal personality to something that's a bit more like a 4-year-old. They start to become possessive, tug-of-war matches over toys. They sulk in the corner and cry. David is somehow getting infused into everything that this AI touches. Eventually, Edwin attempts to shut the Mimic 1 program down, but he dies in the process. However, in his final moments, he attempts to communicate with his son inside the AI. You see, in the Mimic story, Edwin watches David communicating with his robot buddy using a made-up language described like this. Quote, David and Mimic had been doing all manner of odd little drawings that were surrounded by markings that looked vaguely like hieroglyphics. Edwin then uses this same language to communicate with the Mimic software at the end of the Storyteller. Quote again. We see that the security breach and like the post-it note room and then the room with the TV, like sister location. Oh my gosh. Strange symbols that were not at all familiar to Mr. Burrows. Squiggles, squares, loops, triangles within triangles. So why is this story such a big deal right now in the FNAF community? Well, everyone knows it's important, it's just that no one can truly settle on what it's trying to say. Which means it's time for me to do my best to try and break it all down. Now, I've already mentioned the parallels between Edwin and Henry, but what that also suggests is that Edwin's son David may just be an analog for Henry's only child, Charlie. Not that they're one and the same or following the exact chain of events, but rather that where David goes in the books, we should be looking for Charlie to follow in the games. And in the story, the Mimic 1 AI that was trained using David winds up controlling the Pizza Plex and all its animatronics via an intricate system of wires. This, to me, is the book suggesting that we should probably be looking for Charlie to be doing the same thing in the games. And wouldn't you know it, but there is a lot of evidence to suggest exactly that. Throughout Security Breach, there are wires everywhere. Black and white striped wires that look very similar to everyone's favorite possessed puppet, Charlie. There are also the staff bots roaming around looking like a twisted version of the puppet. We also see several unexplained Nightmare Own plushies hidden in strange locations throughout the building. Again, suggesting that an angry version of Charlie may just be at work within the walls of the building. During my complete timeline, I suggested that the reason we were seeing so much puppet imagery throughout the Pizza Plex is because Charlie's possessing the building poltergeist style. Just like the house in that movie is possessed by angry spirits, the Pizza Plex is haunted by Charlie because it's built on top of the location of the FNAF 6
It's not Charlie,
basically, her physical form may be
Mimic.
gone, but her spirit is still going to haunt the building until Afton is destroyed. And again, I think that this latest story confirms that I was close.
Because the puppet should be like, you know, FNAF 6, right? With Lefty. So,
I mean,
hopefully it's just Mimic and it's not that Charlotte's still there. Because Charlotte shouldn't still be there. It's really Cassidy's fault that the games even exist anymore. Like, Cassidy's not the hero of the story. Cassidy is the annoying...
Was he ever?
She. Well, okay, because they're Cassidy's the one who's always fighting against William. But we thought that, like, Cassidy was possessing him in, like, the afterlife or whatever in Custom Night, but then it was confirmed that it's actually possessing his body, keeping him alive to torture him through Custom Night. And that's why it was like, let him go, let him die. And she didn't let him die, which makes him still live and live on to become Burn Trap. And it's all Cassidy's fault. Cassidy gets, like, consumed by Glitch Trap during Princess Quest, whatever. Annoying Cassidy. But Charlotte should still be dead. Charlotte needs to be dead. But if it's Mimic, that's at least better, right?
Yeah.
More interesting.
But not
It would be
necessarily
cooler if it
about
was
the
his son,
how.
though.
Charlie is still very much
Only
here, but
child.
it's not a haunting, it's technological. And look at this. The wires are even formed in such a way that they look like the trunk and branches of a tree. Exactly the way the Mimic's wires are described to run through the Pizza Plex in the book. Just like David's consciousness infected everything in the Pizza Plex during the Tale story, so too is Charlie infecting everything in the Pizza Plex.
Oh, he
of the
solved the
game.
ruin.
But
How's
that's
this
not all.
ruin?
Remember that in the book, Edwin uses an elaborate code of symbols, sticks, and shapes to communicate with his son inside of the Pizza Plex.
Sound
It's
familiar?
designed as an elaborate code of triangles within triangles. That right there, that is the wall code in Security Breach's secret room. Remember that one? If not, here's the abbreviated translation. Break and mend, I built the breath. They hunt now, drawn to life. The storyteller here is giving us a clue that this wall code, these
Henry.
triangles within triangles, they were written by Henry. How? When? Not sure. Honestly, we hadn't even considered him.
Henry's finally... Actually, still Henry hasn't died. Wait, no, Henry does die then. So Henry's officially dead? Henry finally has... But Henry already died in the FNAF 6 fire. Henry literally said, I am standing nearby. I will die as well.
The possible person to have written this because he was supposed to be dead in the FNAF 6 fire. But
Yeah.
if you look at the text with him in mind, the pieces all fit. Henry did build the breath. He was the creator of the animatronics. And in all stories about Henry, we hear about him repurposing old
It's just
robotic
his spirit.
parts. He is breaking
Maybe.
and mending them. But midway through, this coded message starts to switch tones. It starts giving instructions. Quote again, dodge, duck, flash, shoot, crawl, run, crush the vile band. Your life, your aim will save those with soul. He's teaching someone their mission. He's giving some robotic AI their instructions, just like Edwin was trying to communicate with the AI in the book. It is their task to save those with soul. But look specifically at the verbs that are written here, especially shoot and flash. This one has to be talking to Gregory.
Yeah.
Not only is he the one that's crushing the vile band of the Pizza Plex, all of those actions are things that he performs in the game. He is the only one shooting with the Faz Blaster. He is the only one flashing with the Faz Cam. It seems like Henry, in a last failsafe against Fazbear, may have built a protector using an AI program and spoke to it using his triangle within triangle code. And that protector has to be Gregory. I know, I can't let Robot Gregory go, I get it. But how else do you explain this? No one else is flashing and shooting. And remember, the story GGY confirms to us that Gregory is patient 46, whose secret therapy tapes are played right next to where this code is in the very same room. Everything in this one room is screaming that the message is for Gregory, written in a code that the books tell us is reserved for robot brains. But this then raises two major questions. First, how could I say that Gregory's a robot when we see him in GGY as just a kid at school? And secondly, GGY makes it clear that Gregory is a villain, hacking into the animatronics and using them to kill people.
Apparently, all three of your former therapists have gone missing, or two of them are missing. One of them was found dead. The woman's body was pretty messed up. It looked like it was mangled by machinery.
Like,
Gregory's pen name for a large portion of the book is Dr. Rabbit, for crying out loud. If that doesn't scream, oh, by the way, I'm also working for Afton, I don't know what does. He even calls himself the wizard's most favorite apprentice. So how can I say that he's working for Henry when it's very clearly being told to us that he's also working for William? Well, first off, we never actually see confirmation that he's a human in the books. In fact, we largely get the opposite. Gregory is actually described in the book as,
Makes
quote,
sense,
an
though.
unfamiliar kid who looked a little lost at the start of the school year. So there's no past with this kid, no growing old together with a group of friends. He just appeared out of nowhere one day. What's more, whenever his friends do something odd, Gregory reacts in a very robotic way. He cocks his head and he has a weird pause in his behavior. Is that a lot to go off of? No. But also nothing about him explicitly says that he's necessarily
Really?
human, that he's just the reluctant follower of Afton. But obviously the bigger question here is how? How can he be both a detector bot and an agent of Afton at the same time. This is also a question that's raised in the books. If GGY is saying that Gregory and Glitchtrap are in control of the animatronics, but then the Storyteller is saying that an AI version of Charlie is controlling the animatronics, who's actually in control here? Both of these stories feel crucial to understanding Security Breach's lore, and yet they seem to contradict each other. So what is going on? Well, for that answer, we actually include a trailer for the new Security Breach DLC, Ruin. In the last few
Yeah, a lot of
seconds
people have been
footage for
saying
this
it's
new
the
game,
Mimic.
You see a glitching techno rabbit, glitching between two colors, green and purple. This effect is known as chromatic aberration, which is when
Looks
it
kinda
allows the
blue to
camera
me.
unable to focus the different colors of light into the exact same point. Usually you see this sort of thing with red and blue, sometimes red and green. Purple and green is not usually the natural color combination for this sort of effect, which means that it's trying to tell us something. And this isn't the only time we see it. If you go over to securitybreachtv.com, which has been the go-to location for all online teasers for these games, the website has the steel wool logo down in the corner, glitched again between purple and green. Not only that, they're reverses of each other. Not just reflections, but actually facing in opposite directions. Well, we know that purple is always going to be the villain color. It's evil. That is a given for this franchise. But green, that then, is probably the opposite
Is that
color. The
Springtrap?
hero color.
Or is
And
it
while it
Henry?
could represent Elizabeth with her signature green eyes, what I suspect is more likely is that the green is Charlie. The color of the security puppet's eyes. The color of the wristband that she was wearing the night that she died. All green. So within Gregory, and honestly within all of these animatronics, there's a capacity for both good and evil. Glitchtrap is in the code, obviously. He's purple. But there's also a force for good, Charlie, in there as well as green. And what we're playing through
The
is
Mimic.
a battle between these two
The
to ultimately
Mimic.
decide who wins. That's why the tiger head and the Tales from the Pizza Plex story has two differently colored eyes. It shows two forces at work within the
The
same
Mimic.
program. This also explains why throughout the game, the other animatronics are getting corrupted, but why Glamrock Freddy isn't. He's booted in safe mode. The Storyteller establishes that all the animatronics are hooked into the computer network that controls the Pizza Plex. By glitching out and then rebooting in safe mode, Glamrock Freddy is separated from that system, as well as any sort of corruption that's happening within it. And just like that, it all became crystal clear. The reason we have two stories telling us about two different sources of control over the animatronics in the Pizza Plex isn't because Scott changed his mind or because Steel Wool didn't get the memo. It's because Ruin is literally going to be a battle for control. The forces of evil, Glitchtrap, versus the forces for good, Charlie. One who wants to kill kids and use their souls to gain eternal life, and another who wants to put it all to rest and protect those who can still be saved. And Gregory is stuck there in the middle, both of them existing inside of him. Like he says himself at the end of the trailer,
Don't give up on me yet.
but hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. And hey, if you want to see
Wait, what
more
was
of my
that?
live theory crafting and reactions to the Ruin trailer, there's a whole GT live video waiting for you. Hey, if you want to see the theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. And hey, if you want to see more of my live theory crafting and reactions to the Ruin trailer,
So, what do you think of that theory, Jackson Henry?
I mean, we're not really gonna know anything for sure until the Ruin, but I feel like it seems pretty accurate.
That is
It doesn't seem-
very interesting to me. I'm believing it. Like for now, I mean, it's got a lot of evidence. I'm believing this for now.
That's what I say. It's got a lot of evidence, but we're not gonna know anything for sure.
Yep. Well. Very, very interesting. Do I like it though? If it's canon, would I like it? I really hope Charlotte's dead. I really hope it's just the Mimic. It's my main thing.
Yeah.
I really hope Henry died in FNAF 6, and that it's like his spirit. Other than that, I think it's okay. It's gotta. Charlotte and Henry need to be dead. All right, we can't just have FNAF 6 like in this theoretical thing. If game theory is fully true, no one died in FNAF 6. If game theory, everything game theory says is true, William lives, Henry lives, the spirits live within the blob, Charlotte lives within this like mimic robot, and game theory said that Michael lives in Glamrock Freddy, which is stupid. But so if he's right, no one died in FNAF 6. FNAF 6 was literally pointless. Which I choose not to believe. So
Yeah, I mean, if you say it like that, yeah, it does kind of.
yeah. So I don't know. That's my thoughts. Comment below what you guys thought of this. If my comments are good. But yeah, this was amazing theory from matpat. You guys should go watch it on your own. Watch his other theories as well. Watch the Ruin DLC trailer. Watch everything. This is FNAF, the year of FNAF.
Literally watch every single FNAF video ever made.
Watch my FNAF videos. Watch my upcoming FNAF videos. I'll give you a sneak
Watch the
peek
videos
here.
that aren't out yet. I'm actually gonna be leaking them in my Discord server. No, I'm kidding.
I just showed a little sneak peek. You guys might be able to basically see that. But yeah, I enjoyed this theory, and I guess we'll see you guys all next time. I gotta find a way to put this in the timeline. Hopefully Ruin doesn't ruin it in the ruining way. And yeah.
Next time on MrRandalTea.
Next time on MrRandalTea.